How's it going, guys? Anfield here, and welcome to a new video. Today's video is going to be a review of the brand new Object 252 Defender, which has been a somewhat controversial premium.
Here I am, rock you like a hurricane. Here I am, rock you like a hurricane. Rock you like a
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't resist that. But anyway, on with the video. So I logged into World of Tanks today, and the tank was sort of sat in my hangar, and I was like, okay, there it is, so let's play it. Because people have been asking me what my opinion on the tank is for a couple days, and I haven't really been able to give an answer because I've not really played it at all, and also I haven't faced it all that often, and I don't like to formulate an opinion on anything until I've, done one of those two things. But I took it out for a spin today. I published some of the initial impressions I had on my first few battles on stream, but this is an actual video that I've sort of taken some time to digest my thoughts on the tank, and I've played it much more than those few battles now, so I kind of get an idea about what the tank's strengths and weaknesses are. And like most people, I was pretty impressed with the tank's capabilities in terms of how fast the tank was, the alpha of the gun, and the speed of the reload in comparison to the alpha, and also the tank's ability to bounce shells. So I could kind of see where all the controversy was coming from. The tank is obviously very, very good and does have a lot of capabilities, especially ones that outstrip fellow Tier 8 premiums. Since the end of the Type 5-9 era, Wargaming have heavily favored premium tanks that are generally weaker than their Tier 8 elite counterparts in order to not stir up so much trouble as what the Type 5-9 did. Those of you that remember when it was first released, the games where there were 10 plus Type 5-9s per battle. But that hasn't really happened for a while because Wargaming have focused around premium tanks that are generally weaker. Now, they solved this originally by adding premium tanks that had preferential matchmakers, so that while they were not particularly powerful, they never saw tier 10s like the other tier 8s did, so it kind of balanced out in that capacity. But now Wargaming have been sort of introducing some more and more powerful tanks, tanks that are at least competitive in the tier. So you look at tanks like the KR, the Mutts, those two were quite good and at least comparable to, say, the Pershing, for example, which is obviously a very good tier 8 medium tank. But now Wargaming have also begun to buff some of these older tier 8 premiums and bring them up to scratch. The Low is one that comes to mind. The Low is a very good tank now compared to what it is, or what it was previously. So Wargaming have sort of changed their tune in this capacity. Now, I always thought that they should buff some of these premiums and be introducing more powerful and potent premiums, although they should at least be on par, not actually better than tier 8 counterparts. But more recently, we got the Patriot, the Liberté, and now this Defender. So 3 very powerful premiums have now been added to the store, and they are very, very competitive in their tier. However, in World of Tanks, it does seem to be commonplace for the average player base to overreact to a great deal of many things, especially when their favorite YouTubers tell them that something is completely game-breaking. So I will play devil's advocate in this case and maybe be a little bit more of a voice of reason on this and see it from a practical point, having played the tank quite a lot now. So I suppose I'll tackle the most obvious question first: is the tank overpowered? No, it's not overpowered, which I know is shocking, and many of you will go straight to the comment section to say, Anfield, you're a big dumbo, you don't know what you're talking about. But hear me out. While the tank does have many, many strengths, it also does have its weaknesses that bring it back into line. The armor, for example, which is one of the more controversial aspects of the tank, is really only very situational. In some cases, you may block quite a lot of damage, but in other cases, you'll just get penned very, very easily. Due to the way the sloping works, if someone is shooting your upper front plate from the front with no angle, they're probably going to bounce. But if they can shoot your lower plate, they're going to pen. And most of the time, if you're at any kind of angle, that upper plate is going to be very, very easy for someone to pen. So really, it depends on the quality of your opponent and a little bit of the quality of their shells. which means some tier 8s will do well against you, some will not. It really depends. But once you get into tier 9 and tier 10 games, your armor will mostly not protect you unless your enemy is really, really bad in some cases. So it really depends on the opponent how well the armor works. At certain distances it may be more effective, but at a close range it really shouldn't protect you all that well. This is in stark contrast to the Liberté, which actually does have very reliable frontal armor. And to be honest with you, I'd always almost rather have that kind of armor rather than any pike nose armor, because pike nose armor is very fickle and difficult to play with, which is kind of a big issue with this tank. The other issue with not having preferential matchmaker to protect you against tier 10s is that your gun isn't that great. Yes, the alpha is really nice and the DPM is actually really nice, all things considered, but the gun handling is really poor. Even with the GLD, it's not very reliable, which means you have to spend a long time aiming your shots to make them to be able to pen anything, to be honest with you, which is a little bit of an issue. Now the pen itself is okay, but the premium pen is not so great. It's not much of an improvement over the standard round, which is a bit frustrating really when you're coming up against tier 9 and tier 10 tanks. Your exposure time is higher and your armor isn't going to protect you against these types of tanks, which means it's going to struggle. If you got all tier 8 games, yes, it will be fine, but you're not going to get all tier 8 games. It's going to be quite difficult in those kind of games to actually be able to make most use of the gun. For example, the IS-3 gun, the BL9 gun handling is actually really, really good, which minimizes the exposure time of the tank. So that's really, really nice for the IS-3, but for the Object 252, you're going to be exposed for quite a while if you want to hit your shots. And with tier 10 tanks and tier 9 tanks becoming more and more armored, especially with these new Germans and the Japanese heavy tanks coming into more prominence, this is going to be something your tank is going to struggle with quite a lot. But like I said, the tank is very, very powerful, and these things only really serve to bring the tank away from the overpowered bracket and into the very, very good bracket. The tank is really, really good, but like I said, I don't think it's overpowered, and I think there has been a massive overreaction. The armor is not like, I mean, okay, if you rolled into battle and this thing had IS-7 level armor at tier 8, then yes, you would have a problem, but it's not that good. It's very, very vulnerable, and people will easily be able to pen it. And the gun, again, is kind of hampered by the gun handling, which is something that needs to be kept in mind. That being said, the tank is very, very good still, and is definitely worth buying if you're in the market for a tier 8 premium, because this tank is going to serve you very well. One of the strengths of the tank, of course, is that it has 440 alpha, but it also has a roughly 1,000 damage per shot, which is pretty much in line with most premiums. The reason why these alpha tanks make so much more than the others is because they have that alpha with the credit cost, and generally the credit cost of the shell doesn't change. For example, the Scorpion, the shells only cost like, I don't know, 20, 30 more than this tank. It's such an insignificant amount, which means the Scorpion makes a lot of money per shot because of the alpha. Alpha premiums make a lot of money, which is why this tank will make you a lot of money, because it's not 390, it's 440 alpha. So if you're in the market for a premium, I would definitely pick this up because it's very, very good. I would just steer away from the controversy of saying this tank is overpowered and broken, and people being very, very upset because, you know, it's so very good. But I think this tank will be found out soon. I don't think we're going to have a Type 5-9 situation where all the battles are going to be filled with this tank. I don't think that will ever happen again, but, you know. And my personal preference is that the AMX M4 is actually better than this tank. I know, which is crazy, but it's just how I feel. I would also argue that the Low is a very competitive tier 8 premium now, and is quietly one of the strongest premiums in the game. But this tank is definitely worth your time. If you're in the market for a tier 8 premium, I would pick it up. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I didn't really want to go for the doom and gloom clickbait video, because it's honestly not how I feel. I just think the tank is very, very good, but not overpowered. So, but let me know what you think, because there's lots of things to discuss in this regards, whether it's the tank itself or just the way Wargaming have been taking premiums in general. Do you think Wargaming have been making them too powerful? Do you think that some tier 8s should be brought into more prominence and be buffed a little bit? Because that's kind of how I feel, to be honest with you, especially with the way tier 10s have been going recently. I think some tier 8s do need some love. I mean, they did touch up on some of the German tanks, but I think more could be done for some of them. But yeah, let me know in the comments, guys, what you think. If you think I'm a big Dumbo, you're certainly welcome to do that, although you should at least say whether you actually own the tank or not before you do that. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you on the next video.